Hey, yo. Unfortunate news here for the world of wrestling as we have learned that legendary WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall has been fighting serious health issues, including a series of heart attacks following a hip surgery. And at this time, it is believed that he has been taken off life support. Our entire team is thinking of Scott and his family and his friends, and the wrestling world is really rallying around him at this very challenging time. We will cover this story and more stories developing in the world of wrestling, including the latest about Big E and the serious injury he suffered this past Friday on SmackDown. What is his future? What is the time frame for him to heal? What is his spirit? What is he feeling right now? And how are people supporting him right now in the world of wrestling? Plus, much more. We have a new name announced for the WWE Hall of Fame class in Dallas. It'll be Queen Sharmell. We will talk about her and her connection and her wrestling legacy and how it lives on. Plus, we're hearing about another possible WWE Hall of Fame inductee. Who could that be? We'll get into that. Plus, we'll talk about some beer. Oh, hell yeah. Stone Cold rolling out the kegs. We'll get into all this. We have a lot. We're just a few weeks away from Wrestlemania. Get your comments on screen. Get your likes on screen. It's Sportskeeda Wrestling, top story of the day.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Hello, fans. Once again, this is wrestling's top story. We cover it all. Sportskeeda Wrestling. If you haven't done it, go ahead and give us a subscribe. I'm Kev Kellam. Jose G joining us. Jose with a fitting tribute today to Razor Ramon. That's a wonderful outfit there. There we go. Jeremy Bennett in Nebraska, if he asks you. What's going on, everybody? Of course, we will jump right into it. I know a lot of people wanting.
I never break out my gold chain for anything on TV. I thought it was fitting. You know, I had this. I was like, let me just put this on to pay tribute to Scott Hall. We're thinking of you, sending positive vibrations. Big love to him. Hopefully, he fights this and gets out of that. Get it out of that situation.
Kick out.
Yeah.
Kick out on that three, man. Kick out on that three.
A very serious situation here. We got an update on social media from Kevin Nash where he elaborated on the situation and sharing some of the situation there that Scott Hall dealing with a series of very serious health issues. We knew he was hospitalized last week. We didn't know how serious those were. Within the last 40 hours, we learned that there was heart attacks related to it. There was a possible blood clot issue and that he was put on life support. And that his family would be gathered, and then at some point they would be able to have their moment with him. So it is something where we're not reporting that Scott Hall has passed. I know some people are rushing to that conclusion. That is not the case right now. That is not the case. So at this time when we're streaming to you, if we were to say that, that would be inaccurate. And that's not what we're saying. Yeah. I know some people are kind of rushing to that. Even X-Pac, who's a very close friend of Scott Hall, tweeting out. It's weird that people are, wishing me condolences for someone who's a very, very dear friend and brother of mine.
He's still fighting. He's still here, very much.
Still breathing.
So to say that would be unreasonable, and that's not what we're saying. I know some people are thinking that right away, but that's not what we're saying.
Kevin, I want to take a quick 15 to 20 seconds. Every single one of you that's watching right now, we have 323, and I see that these numbers keep climbing up. First thing I want you guys to do is I want you guys to send these positive emotions to Scott Hall by hitting that care button, that love button. I want you guys to do that right now. Second thing I want you to do is share this in your favorite wrestling group so that way your favorite friends that love Razor Ramon, that love Scott Hall, can talk about your favorite memories about Scott Hall. And the third thing I want you guys to do, just take a moment, reach out, send your positive vibes to him so he can kick out of this, so he can kick out of that three, so that way he can stay with us for a little bit longer. So I appreciate you guys. We love you. Send all that love and support.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a big name, very formidable name when you talk about wrestling names that people know. That is a name that they know. That is a lasting name that was a part of a seismic shift in the wrestling business with WWE and WCW back in the 90s, and a certified Hall of Famer, one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time, one of the greatest ladder matches of all time, one of the greatest characters. He has more charisma than most people will ever have in their entire life. This guy oozed machismo. They literally gave him that moniker.
He was the first guy that was my favorite in WWE. I grew up in the 80s watching NWA. I didn't start watching WWE until the early 90s, typically with WWE superstars. Then eventually, I didn't get into Raw right away. I mean, we did have satellite. We were like one of the first people to have the DirecTV back in 93, 94, but I didn't watch Raw until probably more into my high school years, like 95, 96.
Mhm.
But watching superstars, my very first favorite WWF superstar was Razor Ramon.
I absolutely love every single positive vibration that's coming from this chat right now.
Yeah.
All you guys are really expressing the prayer and love, and I feel it, guys. I may not see you physically, but I feel it, and I feel all the stuff that you guys are putting out. So keep putting out that great positive vibration to Scott Hall, man. Let's get him back, bro. Let's get him back better than ever, man. I'm positive like that.
Yeah. The last update came roughly 2 hours ago from Sean Waltman, saying that just saying that he's still fighting. As of now, there have not been any further updates for better or worse since that update that was close to the 3:00 Eastern hour.
Mm-hmm. I got to, while we were hearing this news and we were in the middle of the day, there was some unease. Were we going to report it? Where were we at with it? We just decided to wait until we were here today. And while we were prepping for that, I looked at some notes and different things I've enjoyed. I got to see Scott Hall wrestle several times in Chicago. I was kind of blessed for that. Got to see him versus, Diesel, Shawn Michaels a couple times in different live events, and really, really special stuff at SummerSlam at 94. Of course, the ladder match at WrestleMania 10 stole the show. And then the incredible stuff he did with WCW. So if you're watching and you're a fan of Scott Hall, give us your favorite memories, your favorite matches, things that you love and cherish about him, the way he influenced you. I know a lot of people love wearing NWO stuff, love posing like him. I know I've known many people that have thrown up the daps, that have dressed like the NWO and the Outsiders and all that different stuff. I mean, you're talking about for Gen X kids, this was a badass dude. You know what I mean? This was a guy that got them into wrestling, and they don't forget that.
He still is. He still is.
He was a guy. He was a guy that took a character and almost was just this close to the main event level, and decided that it didn't look like he was going to get there, and then basically revolutionized the sport with Kevin Nash, and then later on Hulk Hogan. So it's quite the achievement of what he could do in WWE, and then just take it the next step further as himself. And one of the coolest, greatest stories in professional wrestling history with the NWO showing up at WCW.
And that's a part of the business and what we saw on camera. But in this elaborate statement from Kevin Nash today, which it definitely, when you read this statement, it definitely felt like Nash was very affected by this. This is something he was deeply close to, was as close to him as anyone in his family or his wife or his children, was Scott Hall. And he expressed how Scott brought him along in the business and took care of him. Nash inducted him in the Hall of Fame, and I saw how much emotion that was for him. He said, like, it was great when Sean went in, but this means more because Scott's the guy who brought me along. And that was very, very special. And he also noted how that Razor and Nash changed the business with what they did, jumping from WCW. You already had Hogan there. We already knew Hogan was going to be there. We thought Hogan was out of wrestling. But the way that Nash and Hall did it and gave you the illusion of an invasion and gave you the illusion of these badass outsiders, literally outsiders, and then they embraced it, right? Mm-hmm. That did more than what Hogan did going to WCW. The launch of the NWO is a cultural revolution in wrestling, and the sense of the boys get to call some of the shots, and the boys get to increase their market value and really get to play. All right, the house is sold out. We're going to be a part of more of the business. We're going to, they changed the business in that way. And I know I've heard a lot of people make those elaborations to what AEW did in the past few years. They changed the business. They improved the free market for wrestling. But Hall and Nash were absolutely a part of that.
And, and something that never was in the sport of pro wrestling on the business side of things until they went over to WCW, guaranteed contracts. Those were never a thing for pro wrestlers until they made that jump over to WCW. They got the first ever guaranteed contracts, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alex Julio with a great comment. That jump made wrestling super interesting. The way they played it, it was a takeover. Yeah, it was really compelling. The way he debuted on WCW with no notice whatsoever, no
walking
teasing,
through
no
the
vignettes, just walking out to the ring. And you don't know who we are, but you know where we're from. like walking up to that line of what you're going to get.
Still one of the greatest moments of TV history. Not just professional wrestling history, TV history. That was just such a tremendous moment, and I'm grateful that we were able to live through that time period because it was just it was so groundbreaking for that to happen at that time, and those were the two guys to pull it off. I can't think of another two men or two people that would able to pull that off what they did.
I know some people joining us here a little bit late. As we're saying, just a little bit of an update. We are not reporting at this time that Scott Hall has passed. I know some people may be joining the stream and they're getting the wrong idea. What we know at this time is what has been publicly shared is that Scott is in a very serious situation here, and that life support at some point was taken off today, and that he is fighting this thing. And our thoughts and prayers are with his family and his friends and everyone rallying around him. And obviously, us as fans, we get to appreciate the things he performed for us in the ring and that we got to see on television. We got to see at shows, and that's kind of what we're sharing right now.
Yeah, I just saw on Twitter. He was the very first segment ever on Monday Night Raw. He was interviewed by Vince McMahon at the open of the very first episode of Raw.
It's incredible, when you think of the big things he was a part of, and getting in the Hall of Fame in 2014
twice.
Yeah. Got to go in with the NWO as well. So it'll be interesting how this plays out. And
what was the big thing for me? Well, like my eye-opening thing on how much him and Ravishing Rick Rude look so similar with those stashes back in the early 80s. Those guys
bring mustaches today.
Identical.
I messed up for everyone's. You guys are making fun of me. I messed up my mustache today. I had to buzz it off.
You threw that in on purpose, didn't you, Jose?
Feeling a little self-conscious there about your shaved down mustache there, Kevin?
Yeah.
A little bit. A couple of hey yos in the chat. I like that here. Joseph with a comment here. Very few dudes had the presence to pull off that walk up to the announce table. Yes, that strut. Everything about him. The way people bring up the way he would walk. If someone does an impression of your walk, you've made an impression with them with your personality.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worked there. And I obviously this Gene bringing up this great quote. This is an awesome quote. This is from his Hall of Fame speech.
Yep.
And I remember that Hall of Fame was interesting. I was rewatching it again today, and Nash bringing his great statements here. Mr. T was on that Hall of Fame.
Oh my
Mr.
God.
T went over time, right?
By a little bit.
So everything after him kind of had its time cut. And you would think Scott Hall would have these great stories and everything, but he came out and he delivered this 5-minute speech. 5 minutes. Ultimate Warrior went on later on in the show and gave some bigger speeches and different things like that. I believe it was Ultimate Warrior. But other people had longer speeches. You would think Scott Hall, incredible performer, huge name, he would go up there for 20, 30 minutes. 5 minutes. Laid out all of his points, expressed how thankful he was to the fans, but still gave them a little bit of the razor. Threw the toothpick at the camera, kept one in the ear so he could close with the bit at the end.
I should have kept another one in my ear. I have a whole box of them in the drawer.
He expressed his love for the boys in the business and everyone who brought him along and the fans. But he always said, I always love protecting the business to the degree of fans would ask me, how you doing today, Razor? And he would say, better than you, Chico. And I was like, oh, that's so great. And of course, that great line that Gene is bringing up here as well. Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. And the pop from that was so perfect. It was like he was cutting another promo for another great match. The emphasis on drilling in how much that character meant to him and performing it for the fans. So special. And also, he was very close to who he really was. He was a roughneck guy who worked in bars and came up in the world of wrestling and embraced it and ran with the business here. Frank Riviera. The two of them had something that will never be duplicated. Yeah, you got to be a certain place, certain time, and be that certain person. They definitely pulled that off for sure here. A lot of people with their different thoughts here on this situation here. Obviously, rooting for him. Really rooting for him and hoping that this situation turns around for the better. No updates for us to report at this time, but when we do, we'll have them for you at sportskeeda.com. We will move on here. Another trying situation here. Big E suffering a serious cervical injury. No serious spinal injury, but he did suffer a broken neck Friday night on SmackDown while trying to perform a belly-to-belly suplex. He was on the receiving end here from Ridge Holland at ringside. It was nationally televised. You can see it. We're not hiding any footage from you. But immediately, a few hours afterwards, after getting looked at and getting this checked out, obviously still in Birmingham, Alabama, which I guess is a good place to be to have this type of injury. That's something he initialized in one of his posts here because that is where a good majority of WWE's surgery team is based out of. And it seems like he has two serious spots in the neck that are pretty serious. We've heard some also. Dr. Chow is a former WWE consultant on their medical team has initiated that one of those specific C3 is very hard to heal completely. And there will be no surgery here, but it will be an incomplete heal. And with no surgery, you make certain choices here. He noted, though, that could mean the end of his career. We have not heard that. He has not stated that. WWE has not stated that. This is a doctor who consulted for WWE, has done many, many different sports injuries in the NFL, the MLB, and many other different places, consulting on an article for Outkick.com. So that is the injury update. That is not an update directly from him, but somebody speculating on it who has direct medical knowledge of it. So this is pretty serious here. I do like the aspect and the spirit and the positivity he's expressed on social media with this. Everyone rallying around him. I'm hopeful he comes back, and I'm not counting out Big E at all.
I'm not either. And this is actually a lot of great positive things coming out of this. One, I can speak a little bit about this. I've had a neck injury back in 2017. I had a torn tissue between my C4 and C5, and I lost some feeling in my fingers on my left side. And every now and then I have tingly fingers. The fact that he mentioned that he still has sensation on his fingers, he has sensation on the extremities of his feet. That's a good sign. He has mobility. That's a great sign. The disc didn't flip. It was just a slip, or it's just fractured. That's also another great sign. So I'm not counting him out. It may be a long recovery process for Big E. That that spot was just nasty to look at over and over again. But you know what? He's positive ever since he was there. He put that social media post out there, and the prognosis looks very, very good. And again, this is speaking from being 20 years plus in the medical field. So this is really good. An outlook for him.
Yeah, and Wade Keller on his recent podcast for PW Torch, he mentioned maybe this should be the end of doing any kind of overhead things at ringside. At the same time, he's saying backstage it didn't seem like it was reckless or anything like that on Ridge Holland's part, or that he did anything wrong. Just one of those things that kind of happens. And plus, it might have been the biggest guy that he's ever tried to do a belly to belly to. But probably, even though there wasn't really much fault, just because it's one of those things that happens, but probably something maybe WWE should look at and maybe quit doing in the future.
We'll see. The WWE has made edicts to their talent performing in the ring about certain maneuvers. For a long time, there was only certain people they would allow to perform a pile driver of some kind or certain maneuvers of this. And they've removed the idea of overhead chair shots. You cannot take a clean chair shot to the head without putting your hands up. You'll be fined for it. So there's things like that we've heard that are well reported, that talent has talked about. But this is a guy who is also, I don't want to say wrestling is reckless. To some degree, you're signing up for something you're signing up for a level of risk and injury, right? I'm not, critiquing anyone for that. But this is also a guy who loved to go and do the risky maneuver too. Like
every time he does that spear through
that
ropes,
spear through the
it's
ropes,
super scary, dude.
And so all these different things, and there is a risk with wrestling, and this is part of that risk. I know some people have also talked about a scenario of what has happened to Ridge Holland. There is now that groundswell has happened. There's no reliable update on that. We do know from several different verified sources that Ridge Holland and Big E have spoken. They've visited with each other. They've talked about this, and that other WWE talent also visited with him as well. So I'm hoping that this is a positive situation. It's hard to say when it's down and it's dark right now that it's bad. But, to say that now is writing off what somebody can do to turn it around.
At the same time, it ain't the first incident with Ridge Holland either. He dropped Johnny Gargano on his head in NXT in a very nasty move as well. So there is probably some things to clean up on his end, but at the same time, it is not a reckless move or anything like that. No. It's still something that just was kind of
an unfortunate incident.
Yeah,
it's an unfortunate incident. And I've spoken to a couple of different local guys over here who are not associated with WWE, just veterans in the game. And a lot of them was like, listen, if you are going to do a spot like that, don't have the smaller guy throw the bigger guy over. You do it the other way around, just because you're going to have more. It's a physics type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that spot, think it better, have the bigger guy do it on the smaller guy as opposed to the smaller guy on the bigger guy. I don't think that move should be barred because we've seen that move executed over and over and over and over again. And but this was just a freak accident, and unfortunately Big E got the short end of the stick with that. And again, just sending out the positive vibrations. Everything looks to be great. He looks like he has a great prognosis. So just a matter of time before he heals up.
Yeah, and the original plan that you may have seen, probably obvious after SmackDown, was to be a 6-man. They were going to bring King Woods back in time for WrestleMania and have a 6-man. Now that is up in the air. Maybe they throw somebody in with the New Day, kind of like they did with Kevin Owens for a time being, and maybe still have that 6-man. Or they take Ridge Holland off the match and they have Austin or Xavier. I used his real name. Whoops. Xavier Woods and Kofi take on Butch and Sheamus.
For sure. It's just another reminder that the men and women in that ring take legitimate risks every time they go out there. And you should respect that. And whether or not you like a wrestler or not, whether or not you think they're politicking, or serious injury is always a possibility. And you gotta hope the best for everyone in this situation, and a hard one. Anytime these injuries are bad, this close to WrestleMania, it's got to sting in a different way when you're that passionate. But it is also working. These are different breed of people. These are superhuman, highly disciplined, wake up, feet on the ground, I'm working type people. And that's what you get with televised levels of wrestlers. That is the level they are at. They never stop pursuing this. And I would bet on Big E being back in WWE in some form or another. I'd be very, very doubtful that you would not see him on television again as a non-screen performer in some role or another. You will see him. He has too much energy.
I'm already picturing the pop when he does come back.
Oh yeah,
huge one.
It'll be massive.
Yeah. As we continue to follow the situation building to WrestleMania, it will be a week with a big coronation ceremony for The Undertaker going in the Hall of Fame. We know that Vader will join him, and we learned today that Queen Sharmell will also be inducted. This is the latest name. We heard about this kind of rumbling up here as a name that could be inducted. Of course, a lot of people know her for her time working alongside her husband, Booker T, who's also in the Hall of Fame.
Sucker!
This is quite the honor for her.
All hail King Booker!
Yes, she played a big role in that. I do like that they're inducting her as Queen Sharmell, which is interesting, which was definitely her biggest role on television with WWE. And she had some time with WCW before. This is I want to say this is a little bit of a surprising induction. I'm not saying she isn't worthy of it, but it's always that thing where, I thought this person would be in before her, or this person would be in before them. I know that's something that people complain about, but that doesn't mean that she's not worthy of this. She had a great career, and I also like that some non-wrestlers get in. She's done some physical stuff in the ring, but I like the idea of somebody in a more of a managerial role or a supplemental role gets to be honored like this.
I was a little bit surprised about this too, Kevin. I not that she doesn't deserve it, but you're being inducted in the same class as The Undertaker. So if you're being inducted in the class with The Undertaker, you want to try to have as much high profile names as possible in that class. So I mean, yeah, she had her impact at the time when, back in the day when she was doing the stuff with King Booker, but I don't know if this is the right choice for this class, to be honest. No, I'm not sold on it.
But then you look at who else is in the Hall of Fame and you realize, well, it isn't always who deserves to get in there first. You look, Coco Beware is in the Hall of Fame.
That's also all Hall of Fames, everybody. That's the same thing. That's the same thing with the Baseball Hall of Fame. There's people that the baseball insiders and baseball journalists have decided we will not induct this person, even though they clearly have numbers to put them in. If it's a stat-based thing with WWE, these are artistic performers. These are people playing roles. Yeah. Do we want to induct a character? And then if also for the people that say the WWE Hall of Fame isn't legitimate, that is 100% to me. I just don't agree with that, because now we get into the argument of, it's not legitimate because they put this celebrity in, right? Well, then you can also talk about the Oscars when they do awards just for someone's legacy. Like Samuel Jackson has not won an Oscar as far as I can remember, and they're going to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award because they know at some point we have to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And in some cases, it's very subjective. And WWE's found themselves in the last 10 years ago saying, we're going to put in a tag team, we're going to put an X amount of these people, and we'll do a legacy induction. They'll do a legacy induction. They'll induct a bunch of people from the golden era of the 50s and 60s who've clearly for decades have not been associated with the wrestling business and honor their names and get them a part of it here. I know some people, I did a top 5. You guys can check this out on our channel, Wrestle Binge, about WWE superstars who turned down the idea of going in the Hall of Fame.
Jeff Hardy.
Well, yeah, but he's not the only one. And as of the time I recorded, that wasn't a story. But I know some people are looking forward to another possible induction.
Yeah.
And that would be one of the best tag teams of the 80s and 90s. The dog-faced gremlin, Rick Steiner, and his brother Scott Steiner, the Steiner brothers.
I want to see some Steiner math at the induction.
Could we see someone get Steinerized in Dallas?
Should
Jeremy, do you think that there's a 33 and a third % chance that Braun Breaker will induct his dad and his uncle?
Only if you divide that by 2 and multiply it by 1.53.
I like it.
Yeah, I think Braun would be perfect to induct. Yeah. He clearly can talk. He's a hell of a talker in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're looking for a legacy type of inductee, then I would say bring in Paul Ellering. Obviously, you had some battles with the Steiners and the Legion of Doom and the Road Warriors. Paul Ellering would be a good one if you're looking for a classic guy. But if you're not looking to bring a classic guy in from the NWA days, I would say Braun Breaker would be the perfect guy to do it.
But you also have Scott Steiner going on the record many, many times in this same video I was covering, where he just went off about his time in WWE.
He's not the first guy to do that and come back either.
True. So it doesn't write it off. It doesn't make it a non-possibility. Ultimate Warrior, we never thought he would go in, and when he went in, it was like, wow, this is a big deal. And it made it much more momentous.
Never.
That was the guy. That was the guy that you didn't think would ever get put in.
We saw more than a few people here talking about Psycho Sid Justice. Could he be inducted? We've heard that rumbling as well, though it has not been confirmed.
That was a rumor last week that we did report on. I'm be interesting to see if he gets in there. But yeah, the Steiner brothers definitely. It's a good time because you got Braun breaking through. He's gonna be main roster before you know it. I think it's a perfect time to put them in.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And obviously everyone gets into this person's not in, so that person should be in. And I mean, that's part of the fun of it though, right? You have your favorites, you have people you like more than others, and there's nothing wrong with that as well. But obviously this is the Undertaker show. This whole thing's going to be about the Undertaker.
Yeah.
That is the speech you're paying for. I'm going to the Hall of Fame. If I miss some of SmackDown, I'm fine with it. I'm not missing the Undertaker speech. I'm going to drink an extra Mountain Dew so I'm just aware. I want to hear every little nuance that he has to say.
That new spiked Mountain Dew?
I'm going to something. I'll bring one with me and I'll hold it just so I get that extra boost. Because this is going to air.
I'm all hyped up Mountain Dew,
by the time he gets on stage, there's some people that have been there at that show for like 4 hours at that show. Mm-hmm. So they're going to do a whole SmackDown beforehand, right?
Because normally, don't they do 2 or whatever the new show next level?
The main event.
Main event's usually taped on Raw.
Yeah, they usually tape some stuff before.
They usually do that next level show after SmackDown. So I'm wondering they'll probably tape that at an hour before SmackDown. So you're gonna have people that have been there since 7 Eastern, basically.
Yeah.
Well, the next level supposed to be like 205 Live. Don't they just record those on NXT?
I thought they aired those on Fridays though.
They air them on Fridays, but
do they record them down there?
They record them at the CWC.
You're not watching, Jeremy. You're not.
No,
watching.
I don't watch that show. No. I have barely enough time to watch.
It used to be like that.
Roland Curtis, always so thankful and supportive of you with the super chats here. Ironically, on February 28th, 2022 episode of Raw, after giving Finn Balor a standing Razor's Edge, Damian Priest yells to the fans, "I'm the bad guy." Yeah, you're right. Hopefully Priest is asked.
He's been on the record. He's been on the record saying that Razor Ramon Scott Hall has been a huge influence on his in-ring style, on his in-ring entrance, the way that he walks when he puts his arms out like that. That's a Razor Ramon thing. He takes a lot of influence off of.
He may need to switch to that finisher because if a certain nightmare comes to WWE, that reckoning's going to go bye-bye.
Before we get off here,
That's a perfect segue to our next story, Jeremy.
Oh my God! I didn't even.
Before we move on,
That's
I know we have people asking us more questions about the Scott Hall situation as it develops. Kevin, when you guys say they took Scott Hall off life support, does that mean the man passed away, or is his health getting better? This is Anthony Minazzo. Anthony joining us a little bit late. I know for the people watching on demand or listening to the podcast, this may be a redundant point. All we know at this point is that he has been taken off life support. That has been confirmed by people who are close to him publicly on the internet, and we're rooting for him and supporting him and hoping things turn around for Scott Hall at this time. If we have any more updates, we'll follow up on that.
They waited till his family came into town before taking him off life support, and then now they're basically seeing if he can survive on his own at this point, which at this point he is.
Yeah, that's what we know at this time. So let's bring this up. One of the more talked about mans of last week. We were getting a Stone Cold Steve Austin return at WrestleMania, but I would say the most talked about man of the week was Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes leaving All Elite Wrestling as one of the founding members and one of its biggest stars, leaving Warner Media reportedly as his commitments with them have just wrapped up. Is he out of a deal with them? It's not exactly clear, separate of AEW, but we do know that it is widespread that he has had conversations with WWE about a big return just a few weeks before the biggest wrestling show of the year. And whether you like it or not, WrestleMania is the biggest wrestling show you can perform on. Could Cody Rhodes be a part of it? Could he have a big opponent? Is it going to be that opponent we've heard about? And now we know that reported plan is indeed what WWE wants, though we can't confirm that Cody Rhodes is indeed going to WWE at this time.
We can't confirm. We can't confirm it.
Well, we may find out in an hour or two, won't we?
Yes.
Raw is in Jacksonville tonight, so very highly rumored that Cody's going to be there. If he doesn't show up there, then I would not hold my breath until WrestleMania if there is some sort of like open challenge situation.
It's just a ruse. He's doing a Pillman. He's just a ruse, Jeremy.
It's a work. Everything's a work.
It's a work. He's just doing a Pillman, man. That isn't the case here.
He's going to show up on Dynamite tomorrow on Wednesday.
He's just a spy for All Elite Wrestling to get back at him. That's all it is. Yes.
Yeah, my lord. I don't know, man. It's making Raw definitely interesting to see tonight. A lot of people are probably going to be tuning in to see if indeed Cody shows up. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Now, the story here is in regards to internally, WWE still has Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins listed on their internal WrestleMania 38 card. So that is why tonight is pretty pivotal. Is a lot of people expect maybe he makes his return in Jacksonville, which is a huge AEW city. But internally right now, he's still on the cards for WWE.
Is that a shot at AEW if they have Cody Rhodes return to WWE on Raw?
Are you trying to purposely stir stuff up, Kevin?
That's exactly what they're doing and planning if he shows up tonight. So like I said, they're making tonight's Raw almost a must see, and it'll be interesting to see if it gets a bump because of this anticipation.
I had some conversations with people about this. I know WWE used the word dashing, and that was about the only official thing you heard them say on television.
No, they also said nightmare.
And also Edge
they did some stuff on social media. It was kind of cryptic, but they've cooled off.
Edge also mentioned the Rhodes.
Okay, yeah. So, so you were doing some things there, and obviously they went with Edge versus AJ Styles, which I think is going to be a great match. I think it's going to be a really, really good match. If everything goes according to plan, those two guys will kick some ass with it. So obviously that was a few weeks ago. We haven't heard anything in the past week from WWE like that. There has been some, teases, but nothing that's on the nose. They didn't say, hey, a big name is returning tonight on Monday Night Raw. No. They didn't advertise that. They didn't say a huge reveal tonight on Monday Night Raw. They didn't advertise that.
What Meltzer says is the fact that the match is still being listed internally tells him that they believe he's in the company. So
they're just they got it cocked and loaded, bro. I think tonight, if you're gonna do it tonight.
Got to.
You have to. You got to. You're 3 weeks away. You're 3 weeks away.
Segment one. Because that's when the most people are watching. Yep. You do a match or something like that. You want to do that the classic start WWE Raw with one guy in the ring cutting a promo.
Kick off Raw with Seth Rollins bitching and moaning that he's not on the card. And he just rants and raves for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden the lights go out.
Yeah. It could be something
Wrestling
special.
has more than one royal family.
Hey, should we talk?
Yeah.
Should we talk about our final story? What?
What?
Our final story?
Oh,
What?
hell yeah. Drinking some cold ones.
One
Drinking
beer.
some cold ones from coast to coast. Stone Cold Steve Austin's new beer with El Segundo Brewing, an American lager, is going to be going nationwide. Now, he's had a beer for a long, long time, Broken Skull IPA, but that has only been available in select markets. Not easy to find. You can find it in some binnies, which are not widespread. Those are just like big, kind of like a chain of like high-end craft liquor stores. We have them here in the Midwest.
You can get it shipped for an outstanding amount of money.
Yes, you can get it shipped for a huge amount of money.
It's delicious, though, worth every penny.
I've not had it yet. Yeah, I want to. I hope
good.
the IPA. I hope the IPA follows this route of the what is the brand new American lager.
Yeah, so the brand new American lager will be available nationwide with expanded distribution.
What?
What day? What day? 3/16 day.
What a day to launch it. What a day to launch it from Stone Cold Steve Austin. His Broken Skull American Lager will be available nationwide. And, of course, this is pretty sweet. 3/16 day. What a way to roll this out. Also, Stone Cold Steve Austin confirming he will have an event separate from WWE the week of WrestleMania. He'll be doing an event, pushing some beer on Thursday night before WrestleMania. That'll be pretty cool. And, of course, he'll have his big in-ring confrontation with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. So this is, do you think it's cooled off, this whole Austin Kevin Owens thing? I don't think it has, because I think do you think we get a promo or something with them in ring before WrestleMania, or you just let it simmer?
We get something tonight. We get something tonight, either from Stone Cold, maybe doing something remotely, or Kevin Owens still continue to, feel the fire. I don't know, man. We'll still get. I think we're gonna still get some build up on this.
Yeah, I don't think we'll physically see Austin in a WWE arena until WrestleMania, though. Unless it escalates to where they make it an official match, then I would say he probably shows up at the go home show.
True.
But if it's still KO show is planned, you won't see him till WrestleMania.
It is worth noting, they're in Jacksonville tonight. They're in Chicago next week. They're in some big markets. And if you really want to move the needle, maybe you do this in a big market. And what's to say they even do it in the ring or even on Raw? I mean, they had Stone Cold confirm this thing on social media. They didn't even do it on Raw, which benefited them, because millions of people, not to say not many people would see it on Raw. A lot of people would see it on Raw. But that was a very, very clever thing they did. Say, like, wait for tomorrow. We're going to announce something in an hour. And then, boom, it just flew out of hotcakes. Tremendous impact online for them to do that.
Yeah, and they did the same thing with Rock and Cena in the once in a lifetime thing that turned out to not be once in a lifetime. But they did the exact same thing. Rock was doing some, fruity pebble bitch, slams at Cena.
I don't know that flavor.
It's at your local grocer. From his house.
It's right down the aisle from the beer.
Oh, that supermarket! That one of the best moments in SmackDown history.
Great comment here from Jay Feliciano, a man who knows a thing or two about the wrestling business. Thank you so much, Jay. If Cody returns, does he get pushed right to the title after Mania to fulfill his family destiny?
Well, like Vince said,
as he negotiated a contract, it is worth noting. You bring up the negotiated contract here. Everything we hear about Cody with this deal is not Cody is upset about this or WWE is. We hear Cody's team, Cody's camp. It is worth noting he is working with an agent. We know that. We know an agent negotiated some of the things he did with Warner and the reality show and the Go Big show and those other things. And he wanted to be the face of the brand and all these different things with AEW. You're working with an agent. It's a different story. A lot of people are surprised when you bring up that wrestlers have agents. A lot of them do.
And we reported it on this show 3 weeks ago that, Vince sees this as an opportunity to stick it to AEW. So you're damn right. He's going to push that AEW founder to the moon. Cody's going to get pushed. If he's got hold of one of their founding guys, one of their EVPs, one of their founders, he is not going to be sitting in the mid card tagging with Miz. He's going to get pushed.
And they earned it. You know what I mean? Like, you went to war with him, and now the shots are coming back at you. Yep. I mean, this is a part of being in competition. This is a part of, if you're going to compete with WWE, you think, like we saw Vince a few weeks ago. He's like, I love it. I love the competition. Like when Pat McAfee brought up AEW, he didn't go, what are we talking about? No, he would never do that. Even though as many people on the internet would love if he was like, look how scared.
Yeah.
No,
We get, you know,
Fine.
and everybody wins in this situation.
Yes!
Well,
when
yes.
when
We're the
everybody's fighting.
fans.
Yeah, when
we get,
everybody's
we get to have Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. What are you bitching about? like that's a really cool match. It's pretty
Who would have
Exactly.
thought about that a year ago? Just think about that.
man.
I know this could age poorly before we sign off here. Rando with a question here, where obviously we're talking about whether or not Cody's going to show up tonight in Jacksonville, and this is the ideal destination. If he does show up before WrestleMania, if they do have him, this is the day to do it. This is indeed the day to do it. Does he show up tonight?
It's truly 50-50 because there's still the rumors out there that this is just all a ruse and he's going to actually be the one running Ring of Honor. So there's that. But there's also a lot of credibility behind him going to WWE too. So it's a truly 50-50 split right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a follower of the show, you're in the Watch Out gang. Here we go. DJ Eric trying to do some fantasy booking. Book Kevin and Jose versus SP3 and Rick Ucchino at SK Mania.
We already got a title match set up.
We're working on that. We're working on a big trivia showdown.
A triple threat. SP3, of course, the three faces of Sid somehow got his way in there. So Robert how do I say
Robert DeFelice? Yeah,
DeFelice.
I wanted to put an ano in the DeFeliciano. I wanted to spice it up. Robert and Sid and Rick triple threat for the title, the STF title, coming to you hopefully before WrestleMania.
All right. I love that. Watch out, gang. Drop those watch outs on you. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. We're going to be doing so much special content leading up to WrestleMania. We will be announcing, you may have already seen it. We'll be dropping a video for it soon with all the winners from the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards. Thank you to the more than 100,000 fans that put in their votes. We really appreciate it. And congratulations to those winners. You're going to find out if they won an Xbox gaming console and cool wrestling merch as well. Thank you to all of our great panelists that are on board. Bill Apter, Arn Anderson, Booker T, Renee Paquette, Vince Russo, and Eric Bischoff, and many, many more. Really appreciate your contributions. You can go check out all that extra content. You're like, why would I want to know about that? Well, all of those people that are panelists did interviews where they put out their votes publicly. You get to see who they voted for on video. It's not a hidden thing. It's all out there. Panelists, esteemed panelists, their ballots are wide open. You can go check them out. Those videos are up on our channel as well. Thank you guys so much for checking out the show.
Quick thing, Kevin, before we head out, before we sign off, we got to acknowledge that 361 people that gave us their love, their hearts, their cares. They engaged with today's show, and we thank you so much for showing all that support. That just means you guys really love the content, and you love when we put up this stuff. Guys, sound off on Twitter. Let us, show the support all across all social media. So we really
or be like
that.
Bob and make fun of my beard where I made a mistake shaving my thing, and now he calls me an Amish wrestler. That's what I am.
All right, let's get out of here, boys.
Let's get out of here. Let's end on this. Hey-o. For the bad guy. All right, let's hope the best for him in this really, really challenging time. Thank you guys so much. Remember, when watching wrestling, you can bitch and complain that you're fantasy booking, but they tease something, but somebody else teased it on the internet. It didn't happen, so it sucks. Calm down. Hope everyone's safe in the ring. You go home happy. Boo the bad guy. Cheer the good guy. And remember, you just have to do what, people?
You got to enjoy wrestling. Just enjoy it.
You always root for the bad guy. Yeah.
What?
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 What?